Hello there! Welcome back to Charles Circle, and welcome back to Captain of Industry. Last time we built out a second copy of our modular settlement blueprint, completing the transition to a fully rail-supplied multi-settlement model. That also allowed us to clean up our old settlement area and the farming zone that was still supplying it. Those buildings have been there since the very start of this playthrough, so for the first time all game, we have a ton of space on the western side of St. Charles. Space will put to good use in short order, I'm sure, but today we have to attend to something slightly more pressing, our steel supply. So while we've done a good amount of prep work stretched over quite a few episodes now, today is finally the day we complete our long-planned steel factory over on Corvettia. Without further ado then, let's get into it. So today's to-dos, it's mostly standing up the steel factory. There are a couple odds and ends as well, and I think we're actually going to start with one of them. The other two are more can-dos than to-dos, so unless until we have the time, I'm not going to even bother, but I do want to start actually with reworking our old farm zone tracks. Something that might have fit nicely at the end of last episode if we weren't already pressed for time. But since we've cleared out all this space, we have the opportunity to tidy up train traffic in this area. And mostly this is about continuing this pathway here so that we have a cleaner, more direct connection to and from our seaside settlement. And that is, good in and of itself, but a happy byproduct of that is that our only return track won't be right here, causing things to get jammed up at this pair of stations. And as part of that, I also think we'll probably try to tidy up the water pipelines and ramps that we have going on out here. I mostly want to start out here really just to get it out of the way so we can focus on the steel side of things, but we are actually dealing with some suboptimal operation here in the meanwhile, not just train traffic. Got a forked path error that causes longer trains to have difficulty with our household goods and appliance deliveries, and we also have, on occasion, the backing up of our sour water strippers because of the water disposal. So I do, as I said, want to make sure that we have the water pipeline stuff sorted out here too. So it's pretty straightforward. I'm just gonna hop in and take care of it real quick, I suppose. Alright, so while our trucks get to making these adjustments, I can explain the rationale. So as I said, of course, we just want to connect up this set of tracks here. Our trains shouldn't have to wait here for other trains to complete their trips. Should be straightforward. Also used the largest turn radius of the possible ones to keep our trains moving at top speed where possible, although the traffic on this line when they get here is starting to be the limiting factor, not these curves. Nevertheless, keeping this hopefully relatively clean should be a step in the right direction. The other thing I did was simplify the pipes here and letting this drain out, but I wanted the sort of a single balancer meetup between, we have three sources basically of water. I'm gonna pause because I see this, I'll take care of it. But we have three sources of water that we want to balance. One is the output of the sour water strippers. This is free water that's also a waste product if we don't dispose of it. This should be the most prioritized thing, period. Then we have two different groundwater pumps, sets of groundwater pumps on reservoirs, pardon. This one out here is pretty big and we certainly want to use it if we need to, but the priority for this one is going to be going over to the settlement itself. So we want this to be our lowest priority one, And over here, this reservoir has nothing else to do now that it's not directly feeding farms. So all that to say, priority number 1, priority number 2, priority number 3. So the way that we have this is this balancer prioritizes both of these above that one, and then within this set, this balancer here prioritizes the sour water output. Now, this is a total of what, 84 water? So a pipe 2 is fine all the way through here. The only reason that I've gone up to a pipe 4 is to match the input already coming in from over there. If they are different tiers of pipes, the higher velocity or volume of fluid coming in on the larger pipe can wash out a little bit the prioritization system, especially if you have a similarly sized pipe on the output side. So the simplest way to handle those dynamics is to just make sure that everything in and out is the same size. We have the parts certainly to deal with that, so we're going to do it that way. And then, yeah, as soon as this drains, we'll delete it. And I guess we could do till there already. And then as soon as this completes, we'll delete some set of these tracks. We still need this return right for these 2 stations. We'll be able to delete this whole segment, obviously both of these, and that. We should figure out why our settlement's full of trash. Hang on. What's going on out here? Well, we're full on trash. Yeah, I mean, I suppose that would do it. So are we out of trains, presumably, for keeping these cleared out? Probably. Let's bump all of this up to highest priority, which doesn't solve it in the longer term, but we should double check our waiting bays and see, yeah. So we have a few extra fluid trains, 2 fluid trains, fluid train here, that, and then out here, another fluid train, and a loose one. Oh, this one seems to have a job, and so does he eventually. All right, so what we definitely have is a shortfall of our flatbed type turbine trains. So let's go ahead and, I don't know, queue up probably 2, I would say is probably fair to do. I've been adding these already. I think I've added 2 already, but we are now asking them to do a lot more than we previously had. So we'll get 2 queued up, and I won't be shocked if we end up throwing a 3rd in there. So hopefully that gets sorted in short order. Bumping up the priority should hopefully get that taken care of. But in the meanwhile, we're gonna hurt on Unity and a little bit of health, right? Yeah. A little bit of health. Not that that is particularly close to the edge for us these days, but something to take care of. Speaking of health, and a segue into what we need to do next, we're hurting so much on steel, although this delivery is undermining my segue a little bit. We were hurting so much on steel that we are out of med supply 1s to crank into med supply 2s. We have a large buffer, it's not an issue. But this, and then there's a handful of other spots like this around the base that really underline we just don't have a ton of excess steel these days. So it's probably a good segue into, hopefully, let's talk about the steel factory. So last time I walked through sort of how I was setting up the module, at least for the blast furnaces. Now we're going to make more than 8, right? We'll probably start here though, and anytime we need to add more steel capacity, we'll simply copy, paste, add more and more. But we are limited with 8 here because we can go up to 9, but ultimately the crushed iron ore becomes the issue. And 8 is not such a fundamentally different number than 9, and the math works a little bit better with 8 for a few different things. So I'm going to stay with 8, although it'll be 8 and then it'll be 16 and so on and so forth. But we'll also need to set up the next steps on each of these, right? So the next step after this is the molten iron compression down into molten steel with some oxygen. So that's our row of oxygen furnaces here. And I'll show you the way that I've oriented this. They mirror over each other in pairs of 2 so that they can share the combined oxygen input via a pipe. Same thing with the shared exhaust output via a pipe. And they will still get a direct feed from the molten right through to here. From there, we'll do sort of the same logic on the casters. What we'll probably do is have these two merge up together and come in and feed those two together, which are mirrored over the center line here, so they can also share, for example, the water input. And then our steel outputs will have to meet up as well, although we share here where possible. So this feels like a nice compact way to set things up. Might be able to cut another tile in each of these, but let's see. Point is, I think this will be a pretty compact and then very much repeatable module that we can slap down as many times as we need to within limited space here, because as a reminder, we are working with limited space once you realize that half of this island is a mine. One that'll have to be very much active for it to have any value for us. So we'll have to do that. We're also going to need half as many air separators by volume, because each one of these, 18, 36, right? One of these can do 2 of these. We'll be dumping a whole bunch of nitrogen. Not much to do with it, right? I don't think we need to be making ammonia with it out here. And everything else is relatively straightforward. We have a water supply. We're going to do some exhaust processing. We've done that a few times at this point, so no big deal there. And then our 3 inputs really are the key. So iron ore, limestone, and coal. We'll have a nice little buffer here, but that'll be fed from the actual ore sorter itself, and then go into our little triplex of belts here. I'll figure out exactly where we want to do the exhaust processing. That is the sort of thing we could scale. We need 2 of these, but not 2 full of these for this 8. Of course, if we add 16, I think we would need at least 3, but maybe not 4. So I think what we'll probably do is make this scalable, but separate from the modules themselves. And that will dump slag, which we're also going to be dumping slag right as an output from here. So those will merge up and go into one of our output trains. And so will the sulfur over here. The other things will be shipping out, or in. Out, obviously steel, and we've got double storage here. We want this to be a significant buffer. In, hydrogen, as we are today, for vehicle refueling. Water we talked about. I think this is a big enough reservoir that we're going to want to at least have the ability to ship water out to. Dirt, I think we are going to ship. Rock, we're just going to dump here. So ultimately, this is already set up decently. What I'll probably do is just sort of copy paste over onto this setup. The one thing worth maybe calling out still is these are split out for a very specific reason. These 4 are turbine train network, and in fact do not need to be electrified as a result. These I think we're going to do with some Silicon Ridge trains. So sulfur, right? We consume sulfur out here on Silicon Ridge in decently high volumes, and we're constantly importing it from St. Charles. So instead, we can, well, probably not instead, we can supplement that by collecting it from out here as well. So if we electrify these rails, this is a great spot to grab some sulfur that we need to get rid of anyway. Similarly, the steel, I think what we'll end up doing is creating something like one of these, sort of a transshipment warehouse, probably in this area, and then probably using this export network, we'll also shuffle over steel to a similar setup over here on St. Charles, which we will allow our local network to pick up from after getting sort of the shipment from this area. So that means that these tracks need electrified and these don't. That's really the split. So this is the overall thought process and logic. I think the next thing to do will be to go in and complete the wiring on the modules, and then we'll have to figure out precise placement and how to connect them all up. So I'll try to come back up for air in between them, but I suppose I might as well hop in and at least do the wiring on one of these modules next, and then we'll see if that fixed the trash problem. If not, we might have to take a pause. Alright, so I think that's the oxygen furnace module complete. We do bring in just direct 1-to-1 through a molten channel, the molten iron. We connect up here the same exhaust output, actually, on this set of pipes. So this large tier 4 pipe right here is actually capable of handling all, what is this, 576, yeah, exhaust coming out of the 36 from each here, the blast furnace and the oxygen furnace. So they meet up, they dump in here, and then the oxygen itself comes out at the next level up here. Pipe 3 is sufficient, 288 I think is the number. So we have these 4 outputting their oxygen into this pipe here, and then we just come back and connect up every other. Same way here. So we still need to do the molten connections here and the water, not to mention the steel output, but I think this works. I'm looking at it here, and I do actually think I could take 1, maybe 2 tiles out of the middle here. So something to keep in mind when we come back for a final compression, but I think it's time to come out here and see what the heck's going on with our trash. How are we? All right, we're just digging ourselves out of the hole. So that did work as a short-term fix. What we could do is speed these up. These 3 should be sufficient, I think, at baseline, but obviously when there's a bit of a backlog here, we're gonna have to churn through a bit more. So I'm gonna put it up on speed 3, see if I can convince myself it's sufficient. If it's not, and if I can't, we'll just add more. That's one of the reasons there's plenty of space here. That's taken a while, actually. I guess, yeah, all right, so there's just a big buffer in here. Oh wow, that was really starting to turn into a pretty significant health problem, isn't it? Because if I come out here, the question is like, is that enough baseline throughput? These 3 compactors, I mean. And I think it is. I think it is. So this settlement produces, hopefully, not that much waste overall. Let's see if I can find our stats. Our total production of waste, call it 177, I guess. And then on recyclables, we're producing, and I just want the settlement amount here, ideally something like 100. So 100 plus, what did we say for waste? I've already forgotten, 144. So 244 split across 2 settlements, and each of these can handle 72, so about 210, 218. Yeah, this should be fine. And as you can see, this number has gone down, and the time it took me to do some rogue number crunching, nope, that's the wrong settlement. Here we are. Hopefully this number has gone down. Yeah, it did. All right, great. So that is better. Cool. All right, so I feel comfortable unboosting these and getting back to work at the steel factory. I think what I'm going to do next is just this last row of connections. So let me hop in and take care of it. So I think this is the move. The awkwardness, I guess, that comes out here is because we're pairing them up like this. This is a connector. You have to be 2 tiles away from another connector. You can't have them touching. So we do have to add what feels like maybe an unnecessary row of tile out here, of belt rather. But at the same time, we need to gain some elevation for our water, so it's not really a total change. You could kind of hook it back around the other way with a pipe if you felt like it. But ultimately, the solution, right, is, if you felt like it was a problem worth solving, would be to do it like this, and then just have this come out here and meet up like so in a row, and that way it's nice and snug. The issue here is if you do that, your molten channel has to pass right where your water connection would be anyway, so you either have to give tiles in the horizontal direction or just this one in the vertical. These are the tiny little adjustments that I'm stressing out about in my head during time lapses, so welcome to the inside of my brain, I suppose. Cool, so this is, I think, a fine module overall. I do think I can cut at least 1, if not 2, out here in the center. I think I can do 2. Am I crazy? I think I can do 2. Obviously I can't over here, but I can work around that. So let me try that real quick. Just take these 2 out and then shift this entire bottom section up, right? And hopefully everything gives us beautiful glowing green. It does not, but yeah, I think that's quite fixable. That's just about redrawing manually these oxygen pipe connections. But otherwise, I think this actually does work. Oh my goodness, where are we? There we are. Cool. All right, so that feels pretty doable. It's not going to get any tighter on this side because we have our lifts out here, and over here we just need to connect up to the mining. Before we go further though, let's check on our trash just to confirm that this is in fact, yep, completely caught up and sufficient at baseline. Cool, very good to see. The other thing we can do, actually, and should do, considering we've stranded a couple trucks apparently, is finish cleaning up these rails and pipes. So let me dive in and do that too. All right, so that should clean up. I was looking at this trying to decide if we need to add any more ramps or crossings or whatever for our trucks, but I think this pathway to get out that direction is fine. I'm not so worried that we don't have a direct crossing over here. We shouldn't be sending trucks to do much out here in general, so it's more like for one-off construction and so on and so forth. One question I do have is why this isn't staying more full. But I don't think I need to go down a troubleshooting rabbit hole just yet. We need to stay focused on the steel stuff. So let's zip back over here and let's see, what's our next step? I suppose it's probably the train station setup. So maybe we'll do that next. Yeah, so I think we will do the train stations next. So I'll basically, in short, just take this and place it over top of these 2 existing stations. They should be just fine here, but we'll have to adjust where the actual station is. Surely I'll need to realign a couple things, and I actually do think I'll probably flip the direction of this loop so it's not crossing over each other. At any rate, let me hop in and take care of it, and we'll see what it looks like on the other side. All right, so I think that works and should keep our dirt clearance actually in motion still while we finish the rest of this, which is a helpful little bonus, I suppose. We do have to electrify, right, the tracks all the way through on the inner loop here for our sulfur delivery, which will be Silicon Ridge network derived, and so will be the removal of our steel from this area over to an export spot that we should probably go set up on Silicon Ridge here as well. So quickly confirming, our turbine train network is on this station, right? This will be how we bring in hydrogen, let's say expel dirt and slag, and optionally supply, but don't worry about pushing out our water as well. Over here, we need to make sure that we add this to the Silicon Ridge, just basic network, I suppose. Over here, this will be the right network, I believe. And here we definitely do want to push sulfur out. It's a waste product. And steel, I actually think we are going to push out, because what we want to do is not have it pile up here, but actually have it pile up at the set of warehouse stations that we'll make over here for our steel supply. And that'll be something that we can use here locally. Not that we have a ton of use for it, but we do have some. It's still on my very long list of would like to do's to get our steel supply for the production of nuclear fuel rods onto the train network. But we won't need to bring it in here anymore, which will be nice. And then of course we will export it like we do using this set of trains for all of these goods over to St. Charles. So maybe what I'll do is set up a steel export warehouse after I figure out, yeah, red alerts generally require some intervention. Train traffic is getting rough here. It is. I am kind of excited, actually. Great timing. There is a new function in the just announced 4.2 update that is going to come out in about a week as of the time of this recording, that is going to allow, if I am reading it correctly, us to designate areas for train networks to operate or not operate via waypoints. Why am I excited about that? Well, we've got this really high traffic main throughput area here, and I've been toying with the idea for a very long time now of creating some sort of bypass for these larger, oh my goodness, for these larger long distance turbine trains that are, for example, grabbing slag from Silicon Ridge and running them out to the port. It only passes through here because it has to, but it creates traffic and has to slow down to navigate the existing traffic of our slower shuttle network. And what we could do, right, would be to create an alternate path, but there's no way to enforce that that's the path that they would take. And so the pathfinding logic of the train may say, well, I see there's a bypass, but this seems faster as the crow flies, or, you know, however it decides to calculate. There's no way to enforce it. When you were before train networks, when you were just on train lines, you could create waypoints that would force a train to path a certain way, which is great, but there's no such thing until 4.2 for train networks to say you can operate in this area but not that area. So I'm very much looking forward to that, and I think it might actually finally enable us to create a reasonable bypass somewhere that will help us de-traffic this area. So look out for an episode on train traffic. Very exciting stuff, probably in the next week or two. But until then, we're going to have to navigate it. Shouldn't be too big a deal, though. So we'll let our trucks build out here. All of this export machinery and the upgrade of everything on the bridge even to be electrified tracks. So it'll take a second. And while that's going, maybe we'll set up an export warehouse. Kind of want to do it here, but I also kind of feel like I would have done it already if the angle from this intersection allowed us to. So I'm willing to bet we can't quite get away with that. I will, if that's the case, just pivot to doing it down here, but why not try first, I suppose? Yeah, I mean, it kind of does work. Of course, it makes a bit of a mess in here, but that's never stopped us before. I don't know why we would start now. So I think we're going to try to get away with that. The only other piece will be the return for the looping export, but I think that should be pretty straightforward. Let's try that. So I think this works. We will, let's say, accept steel here. The other thing we should do, we want this to be accessible as local steel supply. We don't actually have a station to pull it in yet, but if we did set something up over here, we'd want this to be accessible not just to the export network for sending things over to St. Charles, but also for local supply. And in that case, I guess we do also want the Silicon Ridge network to have access to this side as well. So let's go ahead and make sure that it has said access. There we go. And of course, we still need to set up the import warehouse on the Silicon Ridge side, but we can let all of this get built in the meanwhile. What's going on over here? Oh, yeah, that's right. Took a steel loan. Keep forgetting. Try to pay that back. Need to actually make sure that our trading dock has high priority, I guess. And or actually, accessible steel, because that's looking rough. Maybe we should boost this. We are definitely doing this upgrade or this build in the nick of time, huh? Okay, so with all that done, or at least in motion, we can probably, move on to mining is the next thing. And that's very easy to set up. It's, we've got these mine control towers. We just need to actually get the ore sorting plant built. And I do think this is a fine location for it. So we need to do that, and then the wiring. And the last piece that we don't yet have set up is the exhaust scrubbing module. And then everything needs connected up. So yeah, I mean, honestly, this is all relatively straightforward. I think I'll just dive in and do all of the connections that we need here. So see you in a moment. All right, well, that took a little while and a good amount of iteration. So I'm imagining that I will probably end up cutting that time lapse and just show you what we're looking at. It's nothing fancy. It's just making sure everything's connected. So coming out of the ore sorting plant itself, which will be accessible to our mining vehicles. It'll be coming in and dropping stuff off via these ramps. They're targeting this spot. Probably even, now that I see it, move this up a little bit so that we're just coming around the edge here. Try to make it as short of trips as possible. Coming out of the ore sorter is a handful of goods. The titanium, we're just gonna put into a bucket here. That'll be way more storage than we probably need. Frankly, now that I am seeing that, we'll make it smaller to start and upgrade if and when we need to. But this is just to get it out of the way because it's on top of some of the iron that we're going to be pulling out, and we've already had to deal with it here and there. So this is just a place to put it until we can use it. The rock, however, is going to come out on this belt and be directly dumped into this stacker tower, who will only be dumping rock. But we're going to say, all right, go to sort of -1 on the vertical. So we have the option at least to layer on the dirt and just dump it within your radius and add some buildable space for us in the future. So keep going on out this way until we have to, I don't know, make another decision. 10 segments seems fine. So that'll be rock. And then of course come our 3 goods that we are most interested in. So iron comes straight through here and continues on a pretty much straight line to go into the blast furnaces, but we have of course a buffer. Coal and limestone, same concepts, coming around on the 2nd and 3rd level belts. Everything comes down here and terminates, for now at least, at this set of blast furnaces. We can extend this module, by the way. I think we would basically do something like this. Something like this. And just add second belts, well, at least for iron, but we could probably use the same continued belt here for coal and limestone. Need, of course, the space to add the oxygen and nitrogen, and then just run everything down the same set of output belts, which, by the way, steel comes out like so, along this out long around belt, and into these two containers. Not going to bother balancing this. This is just in case there's room in either, be able to fill both. The other output, the other two outputs that we have to think about are slag, right? Which is this belt here, comes out and around and meets up with the slag output from 1 and 2 of our exhaust scrubbers, and then that comes out here to be taken away by the turbine train network. The other output is the exhaust, which is easy enough to track visually because it's this big dumb pipe 4, and we need that for the throughput, but it comes all the way out here and connects up to the exhaust scrubber. The other thing the exhaust scrubber spits out is sulfur. We send that actually out this way to this storage. We naturally try to recycle back as much water as possible here, so we'll get most of that back. We do vent all of the CO2. We, of course, retain the option in the future if we need more graphite rods to turn into something that way, but no real need right now. Health is fine. And as I said, the water comes out here. We do prioritize the recycled water. We backfill from the reservoir, and I think the reservoir can handle more than these 4, but we'll start here. And then we do prioritize out the water to the scrubbers themselves, along with, of course, the casters. That's this pipe here. But if there's any water left, and there will be, we send it out here for potential export. That's the water loop. When we need to expand the scrubbers, this is the one that's probably the least, I would say, like convenient to expand, but we really, again, just mirror it here. So should be also relatively straightforward. We have space in this area. I think that's it. I think that's the logic. Did I miss anything? Dirt, I suppose, comes directly out of the ore sorter and will connect up here once I delete this ore sorting plant. And yeah, we're gonna let our trucks finish constructing the rail first, are we? Does that matter? Not really. Not much value in any of it until we have all of it. So maybe what I'll do is Unity build the ramps for our ability to actually get through this area, and then just say, get after it, build all of it. And while that's going, let's make our mines, actually. So left to right, or I guess right to left, will be the various deposits. So these 3 will be in the row, essentially. So we'll use the rightmost one here for limestone, and the center one for coal up here. Again, I don't really mind that distance. It's not crazy far. It's been working just fine, for example, over here on Silicon Ridge. And then our last one will be the iron mine itself. So of course we're going to need to get some vehicles out here for that. We can repurpose these 2, of course, but we are going to need a lot more than that. So what we might have to do here is say, all right, well, please upgrade. Maybe, what do we need? 2, 3, 4 at least to start, right? So I would say 2 mega excavators, 4 haul trucks. That feels like the right start. So that means we need to decommission 6 other vehicles. So I don't know, we're just gonna grab 1, 2, 3, 4. And the next 2 unfortunate unassigned trucks that I see. are going to be the 5 and 6. Great, so this is not ideal. So we've completely depleted this reserve. It is what it is. I think, well, obviously a big part of it was just filling up this buffer, and if this buffer is full, then this is fine. But we are going to start feeling that in our farming here. So what I think we'll probably do is say, you guys chill out for now. Let me know when this gets empty, because we will want to turn that back on. But for the most part, we're just going to rely on these two and that buffer to keep the nuclear plant and everything else, respectively, running at full. So for now, it's just a matter of, I guess, time and construction, although the last thing we could do, probably need to do no matter what, so we might as well get going on, is the steel drop off over here, which again will be very similar. We're just going to do what we've done here for electronics and so on and so forth, just building up this way. So let me do that real quick too. Alright, so there that is. Nothing new, just a different ingredient. Same structure as before. On a loop, we will bring in, with the Silicon Ridge export network, steel, and we will allow it to go out to the local manufacturing network, specifically also including the higher volume construction parts factory supply network, because that one uses a lot of steel, so we have these 2-car trains dedicated to this one in particular. That should do it. We don't have anyone else as a steel customer over here, do we? Silicon Ridge Materials Import. That is a dedicated network for this nonsense, and we don't need steel as a part of that anymore. So I actually think, yeah, it's safe to leave that off because we will have steel over here instead. So I think it's just a matter of time at this point, so I'll come back to you when we have some stuff constructed, I suppose. See you in a moment. And while that's all under construction, let's take care of some odds and ends around the base. Here's a fun one. Every single one of our hopper wagon Silicon Ridge network trains has a back half full of recycled glass that it keeps trying but cannot drop off over here at the station because there's not enough track. Very silly, very easy to fix. We're just going to slot this over here instead. So let's do that and then run this belt down and around. And hopefully that should make this a little less silly, because this is slowly but surely going to disqualify every single one of these trains from carrying other stuff, isn't it? Or certainly not at full. So we can take back these as well. Make sure to Unity deconstruct those and replace with tracks. So easy fix. Silly to have overlooked it in the first place, but not really a problem since we caught it. So I'll make sure to drain this belt here in a moment, but other than that, this should be good to go. You can finally, hopefully, wrap up. There we go. And we'll get a bit more recycled glass into the system too, saving us on some raw materials. Other things to take care of. Just poking around here. We are, by the way, hurting because we are full on dirt or rock in a handful of places, including some of our mines, one of which, off and on, we're fine right now, but one of which is definitely the iron supply. That is bouncing back a little bit, but something to keep an eye on. What we could do is set up a stacker to start filling in this mine, at least with rock. So I think we're going to do that. The reason not to do that, or rather why we haven't so far done this, is essentially just that we have wanted to prioritize the ability to send rock for fuel gas if we need it. But like, we don't. We're getting quite full in a few places. So I think we're going to go ahead and, at least as another option here, replace, allow rock to come out this way. So what we can do is probably steel. We're no longer putting any iron in this ore sorter at all. So what we can do is probably just take these outputs here, maybe say, these two were both iron, so let's replace one of them with also rock. Just run that over there for now. This is gonna make a bit of trouble for us on the pathing front here, but I think folks can just go around. We'll keep an eye on it because pretty good chance that I'm gonna regret that. Let's find out. But easy enough, we're gonna go -1 on the vertical offset again. We can top off with grass if we'd like. We've preserved that ability where we've dumped already. And we'll just say, have at it. Everything within the radius here should get filled up. It won't take us all the way over, actually, but that will hopefully get us started for sure. Oh, well, some iron was still in there. That is unfortunate, but I don't think I'm gonna bother digging that out. Please tell me it doesn't show up on the resource layer. All right, we're fine. So it's not enough to trigger a cone. I can live with just that one. Cool. Hopefully this is helpful just to keep this all moving. We don't need the rock so much, period. And over here, we have something similar. This just doesn't matter as much. You can see I've collapsed a couple walls here, whoopsie. But we're just trying to clear this out, so I don't really care if this happens at a particularly fast pace or not. I don't think we need to worry about, for example, dirt over rock over here. Yeah, this is still fine. And we aren't going to dump dirt. We are still going to try to save that. So we will... Maybe what we need to do, right, is we can't push anything more through the system, but we could pull more through. We could increase, hopefully transiently, our hydrogen consumption. And that would pull through more fuel gas, and therefore, since we're prioritizing it, my goodness, more dirt. What's a good one-way or one-time way to spend hydrogen? Well, converting vehicles to hydrogen, of course, increases their baseline hydrogen consumption, but it also takes a good chunk of it for the conversion itself. So what we could do would be to upgrade, let's say, I don't know, do we have... Yeah, how about some diesel amphibious trucks are all going to be turned into hydrogen amphibious trucks. So let's do that. And then queue up, same thing. Do we have amphibious excavators on diesel? Not really. We do have 5 diesel excavators that I suppose we could just turn into hydrogen excavators. So let's do that. And if that all goes swimmingly, we have a whole pile, of course, of basic diesel trucks that could convert, but let's see how that goes first. And in fact, we need to make sure, let me pause that. I meant to say the St. Charles Vehicle Depot only, actually. So let's do that here, just so it's all in the same spot and we don't lose track of it, I suppose. It wouldn't be the end of the world if some of this happened elsewhere, but it is for my own convenience. Hopefully it wouldn't take precedence over here, but we seem to be doing okay so far. Let's boost our vehicle parts 3 production as well. What's our issue here? Insufficient steel, naturally. Yeah, that seems right. Okay, but we do have some here, so this is a delivery issue a little bit. It's also a kind of a train drop-off issue. So let's have our trucks help out here. And if we need to boost this, we will, but let's just see if that helps to begin with. other odds and ends. In this area, I guess we can clean up that as well. Everything else seems fine so far. Yeah, we are looking okay most places on our crop production, by the way. So flour is still the thing that is, I would say, least well stocked, but it's here, so maybe this is, yeah, more of a train throughput issue again. So perhaps it is time to add yet another flatbed onto the turbine train network. We definitely accelerated our need for those guys, but boy were we ever underwater with them right away. And again, the way that I keep checking that is just like looking at our waiting bays. What trains don't have jobs? And right now that answer seems to be nobody. So it seems like we need more of all trains, really. But that is definitely been true for a very long time on the flatbed side of things. The other, thing you can do to increase the efficiency of all of your trains is to make sure they don't spend so much time in traffic. This is not the end of the world so far. That's not looking great. What's going on here? This is just, an issue of getting in here. And you're busy. Yeah, this is the issue with having everything connected on the main line like this is just that we have people waiting, basically, and blocking traffic. So I won't go down that rabbit hole yet, but I think we are probably going to have to do some train traffic optimization in the short to medium term for sure. With Unity, that should finish off our 2 train depots. How are we doing out here? Pretty good. Can we just do the rest of this? Not quite, but we can get pretty close. So maybe what we'll do is say, let's get the mining started at least, and let the rest of this get built as it flows through the system. How about that? So we'll get these all built, build up some buffers, and we're gonna need to finish this dirt transition over here. So I suppose I'll do that quickly here as well. Once this is up, right, we can just have those excavators dump everything here instead of this. So I think it's probably safe to do that finally. And there we go. Cool. So where even is the mine tower for those guys, huh? I've completely lost it. It's got to be out here somewhere, right? Well, so at any rate, well, yeah, that's gone. I have no idea. Where do you assign to? This is the way to do this? Oh, yep, just totally blind, huh? All right, well, let's knock these off here, delete this, and then we have, let's say, iron's our most important one, so let's get started there. So we'll put 2 here. Actually, you know what, let's just do 1 on each and we'll reinforce them. So 1 on iron, 1 on coal, and 1 on limestone, just to get things in motion. So, of course, that will require, naturally, a mining designation. So let's just, I don't know, we need to get down here. Like, everything up here is rock cap. So really, this is about creating a path down. So what seems like the smoothest path down? Probably something like this, maybe. Go through to here. Sure. That seems like a start. And then out this way, actually I think we can start just by taking the cap off, as we like doing around these parts. And we will change the incline as we need to there, but let's just draw that anew. And then I guess we can remove that designation. And then here we'll need the iron as well. I know we can handle the titanium bits in the way, but I actually think it's probably better to start without that piling up as much as possible. So just start with that chunk. Again, taking the cap off. Why not? Easy enough. Get us started. So this will help us understand if there are issues with getting our mines started and our ability to reach the sorter. So it's a bit of a soft opening, but hopefully that works well enough. Let's get the import routes locked in here. I don't know what you seem to be wanting to do. Are you trying to get refueled? No, don't tell me these are your assigned trucks. Of course, because these haven't been built yet. Yeah. Alright, well, I'm quite tempted just to warp these over, but I said that wasn't the way I was gonna try to handle this, so what the heck. We'll just wait. We're not in a rush. Everything's not quite built yet anyway. So we could do, I suppose, would be to accelerate that. Let's do it like so. And then we queue up the excavator and 2 more haul trucks after that, completely new ones. All right, cool. So this has eaten our Unity, but we are beginning to mine at least. And I think it should run well enough. Let's see. So I was sitting over here trying to figure out why our Unity was dropping, and I saw our water was a bit of an issue. Household appliances too, but we'll come back to that. Water's a bit of an issue. Well, what's going on there? Well, we're out of chlorine over here, so we can't process all the wastewater. And wouldn't you know it, that's true over here too. Unfortunately, we are simply not making enough chlorine from this little setup that we have over here. And we can fix that, actually. It's relatively straightforward to do. The fundamental issue here is just that we don't make enough brine, because the way that this system is currently set up, it caps when it hits the top of water here, basically. So what we can do is make brine using some of this excess water and some salt, and that will do 2 things. One, well, it'll give us more brine we can directly pump into the electrolyzer, but it'll also unplug this and cause more brine to keep running in the first place. So it's relatively straightforward. It's just about grabbing, it's a mixer, right? Where we would take some salt and some water and just sort of have it backfill in here, deprioritized, of course, but that's relatively straightforward to do. Question just becomes, where do we get the salt? And while we have a pilot over there, we're really not making it anymore because we've been diverting all of the brine that was occasionally going into here to make some salt. So we'll have to actually bring in the salt instead. But that does mean we can get rid of all of this, since it clearly hasn't run in, I don't know, forever, apparently. So I think it's okay to clear this out, maybe even the dump, I think, right? And this, and just say, all right, well, instead we're gonna bring salt in and run it over to connect up there. So that's the rationale. Let me take care of it real quick here. So I think that should work. Let's give it a moment to get itself built and up and running, but I think that should hopefully solve our issues. 12 salt is not a lot. We can bring it in from wherever. We should have the extra water, I hope. This whole thing doesn't have to run at 100%, right? It's just about sort of unplugging this system. So keep an eye on it, see how it goes. Fingers crossed, because I really don't want to be dealing with chlorine issues at the same time we're trying to survive our steel pinch. It's a little rough over here. Obviously, this is why we need the Unity, right? All right, a little while later, it does seem to be working. We are cranking back up, and this is on its way back up. been staring at a lot of stuff in this area though, and one of the things I think I would like to do, I think we're kind of graduating from using this oil power plant. I'm not sure I'm going to delete it just yet, but I do think what I'm going to do is make sure that we are prioritizing the trash steam that we send out to carry on this way and try to supersede some of the steam that we're generating from our boilers over here. So I'm going to hop in and add a different balancer over here, essentially. So let's see how that works. Really, it's just about making sure that we absorb this steam, and as long as we can turn this all the way off and not have crazy power issues, which I think we're going to be okay on, then we'll come back and delete this and really simplify and clean up this whole area. But I just don't want to delete something as important, potentially, as a significantly sized power plant without being certain. So I'm hopeful that this should absorb all of our trash steam, but we're gonna obviously make damn sure of that first. There are other ways to absorb it too, but if we can do so while avoiding burning some oil products, then that'll make us more oil efficient. Alright, but that is one shipment out, and hopefully very soon one settlement or the other resolved on the sudden chlorine crisis front. Hopefully that helps clean things up over here, because I have to imagine that our people are not happy about that. Nor is our generation of Unity. So, things to keep an eye on. The other things to keep an eye on are the biomass generation is also kind of piling up with all this dirt, right? So we really do need to churn through all this stuff here, or start thinking about what we're going to do with excess dirt in the same way that we've already had to make a couple pivots here on dealing with excess rock. I think we'll be okay, because a lot of this dirt stuff is temporary. We were starting a pretty dirt-heavy portion of a mine here, 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 here. Obviously, we were taking a whole bunch of dirt right off the top as well, so I'm cautiously optimistic we're going to be okay on that front, but we obviously will have to do something about it if it doesn't resolve itself sooner rather than later. I think we're pretty close to being able to Unity complete this. It's really actually a parts 3 issue more than anything else. Oh good, this does mean that we are, I think, yeah, perfect. So we have one excavator on each of these 3 mines. As you can see, dirt is the issue though. So let's hopefully catch up on some parts 3. It should make its way over here shortly, hopefully, but I did take a big old steel loan, so I'm cautiously optimistic we will be through the worst of it. And I also think we can officially delete this. The world has not exploded without its functioning. Cool. So what I'm going to do is just quickly flip this around so that we can dump more truck-derived steel from the trading dock into the train export. And that should hopefully get our parts finished, this part topped off, and then I think this will be fully up and running again, pending the ability to clear dirt out of here. You know what? Just to be safe, let's do that. Well, gotta own this one. I might have skipped a step here. Iron ore needs, well, yeah, crushed, duh, before going into the blast furnace. So for 4 of these, we're gonna need 2 crushers, and I think we'll just slot them in here, probably something like this, and just run the iron ore, I don't know, under here somewhere, maybe like so. Connect out here, and then obviously this is the actual connection that we want to make. So whoopsie, but we'll expand out this way as necessary. Man, that's a good one. I haven't done something that silly in a hot second. So let's drain this all out and get it sorted out. The good news is that everything else is working. We don't have a big stockpile of it yet, but we are bringing in a decent chunk of coal and now officially finally limestone as it comes up here. So let me clear out my kerfuffle, and this should finally be churning out iron. Looking forward to it. And yeah, simple as that. So that's all sorted. Hopefully now we can start to pay back the absurd amount of steel I've been borrowing in the background. So obviously we want our mining to continue to reinforce here, and hey, good news, we've got another mega excavator here. Some trucks soon to join, I am sure. So this is officially moving, if not quite at top speed. I think we feel good about it so far. Where do we put our second one? The most important thing, I suppose, is gonna be coal. What do we use in higher volumes? It's 6 and 15, but we do also use it over here. Yeah, so we're gonna go limestone. It's also the one that's not quite into the pure stuff as fast. Great. So sold, and we'll have to get him a pair of haul truck buddies as soon as we can get those materials in as well. Cool. So very soon, steel. In fact, it is rolling into this train station already. Very good. And that right there is our first steel delivery. So something I'm keeping an eye on and not fully convinced of is whether or not this smaller train network is going to be sufficient throughput without being, basically totally soaked up by the need to move steel all the way over here. If that ends up being the case, no problem. What we'll probably do is just pivot to using the export network directly and just turn this into a loop. So we certainly have flexibility on that front if we need to, but we're not quite at that moment yet. So we'll let it go for now. We're still waiting on coal, probably needs reinforced most. So we will finish adding this second haul truck to our limestone, and then I think it's probably time to add another mega excavator and a pair of haul trucks for coal. Ultimately, right, iron is going to be the one that requires the most throughput, but it's just straight out of the pile right now. That's a very efficient moment for it. We don't have to dump a lot of rock or dirt out of it. Rock, by the way, is starting to fall down there. Looks good so far. Of course, in order to actually afford to be able to make those, we're going to have to knock 3 more vehicles off the cap somewhere else. Ultimately, some of these other ones that are currently miners that won't be for the end of the playthrough are probably the right answer. Now that we have steel going over there, I don't think we really need 5 over here necessarily. So maybe that's the move. Just go ahead and scrap one of these and 2 corresponding trucks, because these guys really do go pretty fast over here. This is a very responsive mine. It's very close. It's a ton of throughput for what will not be around for all that long and is also, no longer that important. And by the way, once we're done bringing iron ore out here, that is also going to help with the traffic, because this guy making a left turn across traffic and then waiting and blocking up this whole thing it's not ideal. A little while later, our second mega excavator for the coal mine is rolling up the island. Hopefully soon that and his corresponding haul truck buddies that are well on their way should mean that we will finally have more consistent coal, enough to actually hopefully back up and create a buffer here. We're obviously hanging in there just fine on limestone and iron now. I do think we'll make sure that we get a second excavator onto iron here. As you can see, this has sort of started to drift down over time as we've had more of these. So we're not quite done over here yet, but that is, I think, going to be the order of operations. That'll mean we should knock off another trio probably over here. As you can see, they spend a lot of time idle, although in this case that is a dirt issue. Nevertheless, let's knock them off real quick, and that should keep us balanced on the vehicle cap out here. So we're not quite at full speed here, but we are rapidly approaching it. Looking good. So I missed it on the camera, but this is the first train that has brought steel derived from the new factory from this warehouse now over to our construction parts factory. So that's pretty cool. Of course, the reason that I knew this happened was I got an alert that this train left after prolonged inactivity, which means it tried to run full but couldn't. So we're not all the way done yet, but hey, that is still a landmark. It is still a milestone. We have Corvettia derived steel going into our construction parts. And as you can see, we're bouncing back our stores here. We really ate a ton of construction parts 3 to set that whole factory up. Then of course that is the part that is most steel, or at least, you know, up to that point is most steel. So that was the one that we were definitely hurting on the most, and it's coming back. So happy to see that. Our other steel derived parts are doing well enough as well. We're keeping up on the vehicle parts. And last I checked, yep, we still have pretty good coverage on steel out here as well. So what we don't have is lower priority wood being brought in. We still need that though, of course. So this, I believe, is, we just kind of don't have enough on the manufacturing network anymore. So I've queued up 2 already. Out here, we'll see if that helps or frankly is counterproductive with all the additional traffic in this area. Specifically this factory, I don't know. We might have to think about how we supply. Let's see. All right, well, things are proceeding according to plan here. It's really just a matter of time until we have our mining vehicles built to really have this running at 100%. I think I'm actually ready to double this up already. It's not that we're going to be able to immediately take advantage of it, but it'll take a minute to build, and hopefully we'll keep doing this in parallel. We certainly are going to need more steel than this to start. So I think, yeah, let's just go ahead and spend all of the construction parts 3 that we've just managed to restockpile. It's a relatively straightforward expansion, as we've mentioned. So probably just going to take this panel and slot it in probably here. I'll dive in to connect everything up. We'll also, of course, need to get another, pair of crushers in here too. So let me hop into a quick time lapse and get this all connected up. All right, so I think this works. We only need to build one more of these exhaust scrubbers. We need 2.4 or something like that, but I figured why not just go ahead and set up the extra module entirely. Had to tweak some belts and pipes here and there. Oh, and you know what I totally didn't do was the slag and sulfur output belts. Whoops, grab that here in a moment after I finish the walkthrough. But other than that, it's very straightforward, right? We just continue the belts along here that we already had, nice and orderly in the same tile, which is great. Of course, we do have to overflow into a second iron belt, and that is fed over here via these two crushers, and it goes underneath all the way up until it enters this module. Over here, we send the slag out and around to meet up with the slag on this belt. There's, I think, enough throughput for that, right? So 18 times 8 times 2 is less than 450. Same thing is true on the output side with the steel. We can just keep that also all on this belt. Oh, I also need to get the water connected here. That's easy enough. We just continue that pipe. I think we might have to upgrade that. Is that right? 12 times 16 now? 192. No, we're actually fine. We may want to, so that it's a bit more robust, but I think it'll be okay, at least for now. The exhaust is definitely more than we could fit for all of this combined into a single pipe for, so it does need to be a separate set. And we'll just run it out this way and put it into, honestly, actually, now that I think about the way we've wired this, we are going to have to build both of these, even though they're both run at less than 100%, because otherwise we have to have the pipe merge up, and I'm not sure I care so much about a fractional couple extra workers and so on, so I think we'll probably do that rather than some sort of messy pipe overflow situation with those kinds of volumes. But yeah, so I need to still get the sulfur and slag outputs from these two scrubbers built, but other than that, I think we're ready to go. So let me do that real quick and we'll start building. And then the last thing we need to do, actually, I just forgot to call it out, is connect up the limestone supply, but everything else I think is in motion. So let's quickly snake off a little bit of limestone from probably just right here, actually. That probably makes the most sense. All right, so I think that's everything. Let's see what we forgot this time, but we'll go ahead and get it all in motion for being built. And while we've done that, brilliant, we've got another excavator. Let's throw this one onto iron, keep things rotating through here. We should probably queue up more. I'm not gonna delete our vehicle cap because they're gonna be busy now with all this construction until we are actually ready to make them. Hydrogen, of course. But we will plan to keep slotting more of these guys in at the expense of smaller basic trucks, probably over on St. Charles. And before the construction got in motion, I will actually say that the requirements for our truck network have decreased a lot since we moved to this modular settlement setup. Like, we don't have trucks running stuff up and down. All the food supply, right, was just being trucked up and down this hill. And all of our like household goods and luxury goods and everything that we were building directly onto the settlement, that was all being manually supplied by trucks as well. So it's been, I think, very helpful for our truck network to not have to do any of that anymore, because trains, right? It's like the core cool value proposition of trains is that they are uncapped vehicle capacity, essentially. So glad that we've been able to feel that benefit already and now use that to reallocate towards some additional mining capacity. So let's give it a bit here and see how all of our construction shakes out. We're actually starting to, of all things, have a little bit of a compute flicker over here. So I think that means, since this is full, it's finally time to build these two and go ahead and toss in a few more racks, which we do keep stocked up over here. So shouldn't be a problem, but another milestone of scale, I suppose. And here we go. Let's just say, I don't know, maybe 8 to start. Looks like that's enough for now. And the other thing that is officially becoming a problem, although it's a good problem to have, is that we have too much dirt. We actually have so much dirt that it is backing up our various mines. And for example, that's keeping us from being able to get enough coal in here from our coal mine, because these fellas can't dump dirt because dirt is full here. The same is true out this way from time to time, and in fact will be again very soon. We just pile up here and then we can't bring anything else in. And we just aren't exporting it fast enough. And that's not a throughput issue so much as it is we have nowhere to put the fuel gas, because we just aren't consuming fuel gas and hydrogen fast enough. I don't know, I'm not convinced one way or another if this is like a permanent structural issue now that we're really cranking all this stuff into dirt over here, or if this is sort of a glut from all of the terraforming that we're still sort of working through here, and or how things happen to be for the mines that we're working on right now, sort of taking the dirt cap off of a few different things in a few different places. This one also has a pretty solid chunk of dirt that we pull down every time we push a little bit further in. So the question is, like, do we need to solve this, or do we just need to push through this? I think we're going to start by just creating a strategic hydrogen stockpile, because we'll be very happy to have excess, I suppose. But I think we, at least in the short term, need to power through all of this excess. What I don't know is whether or not this is going to get us through it or just sort of buy time. But worst case scenario, we have a whole bunch of extra hydrogen, which is not going to be a problem. So we're going to start doing that. We have the parts, the steel, all of that now. So hopefully this should keep all of this in motion, this machinery in motion, which means processing more fuel gas. That's the other thing, is like, these are all kind of working at close to 100%. Now that's not all the time, that's of late, right? A lot of time, I guess over the longer haul here, we're at about 50% productivity. So hopefully this does actually make a difference and we're not just moving the bottleneck here. But if that is the case, wow, we can boost it through, but also will eventually, one way or another, need to expand this array, I'm sure. This will probably not be our full end game hydrogen production either. So let's keep an eye on this. As I said, we just need to get the dirt in motion again. We cannot have 53K dirt lying around. My dirty little secret is, on occasion, I've been blasting it out of the mines just to make some space and keep things moving. We now have a lot of dirt sitting in the shipyard. This is not a solution either. So we gotta do something about this. Let's see if this at least buys us some time. Again, I'm not convinced it's gonna solve it, but it's something to do in the meanwhile while our focus is elsewhere. So things are kind of coming along out here. It's taking a minute. We have the Unity, so I'm starting to think maybe I will just speed some of this along at least. It's a pretty good chunk, actually, of our parts 3 particularly, so I'm not 100% sure that we're going to be able to do this instantly, but maybe we'll take a nice little loan and punt that till next time's cleanup to catch up. On the vehicle front, though, it looks like, yeah, perfect. We are ready to slot this guy in as the final 4th one here on iron. We're kind of keeping up here. Not really. I mean, we could use more iron. We're very full, actually, on limestone and doing fine on coal. So I think what we might do, I think this next one goes out onto iron for sure, but we do need to squish a couple more vehicles to make that happen. I think we move one of the limestone ones, now that it's all caught up, over to iron as well. So let's do that here. And now we have 3 and 6. This should really get things chugging along, hopefully. And just keep an eye and make sure that that doesn't degrade our limestone. Ultimately, limestone is relatively small, right? On a per blast furnace basis, we do use it here as well in the exhaust scrubber. So it can sneak up on us and it is mission critical, but hopefully one in a pretty pure spot is good enough for now. What we'll do is just make sure we have alerts on all of these, really, and then we should be okay. There we go. All right, well, a little while later, I've just sort of let everything run. We're at cruising altitude, and our steel supply is definitely on the way up, which feels very good. We've been a little uncomfortable on steel the last few episodes now. So ended up, again, just more of the same, so I didn't bother showing it, but we ended up with 6 and 12 here on iron, just 2 and 1 on coal and limestone respectively, and that's okay. We've been, I would say, pretty even here. All of these are running in the like 90-ish% for the most part. Not all of them, not all the way down, but they have been. They've peaked up towards that level. So it feels good overall, I think. The other things that I had to do in order to smooth things out a bit ended up adding more water, right? Which we can totally handle. It's a huge reservoir, but we did need more throughput there. And of course the pipes had to go along with that to handle the higher volume. Ended up improving the pipe throughput on a couple smaller areas, the CO2 output from the exhaust scrubbers, I think. But overall, it's really just been pretty much waiting for the iron supply to come in. I think we could probably make an argument for, you know, adding another miner or 2 or whatever, but I feel like this is a fine enough starting point for now. As I said, the supply is really rolling in here, which is great. We've paid off all of our loans, except for a tiny little bit here of parts 3 still sort of trickling out, but as you can see, that supply generally has certainly rebounded, and a lot of our steel-derived stuff is looking pretty good too. So I think this is a fine place to leave it for now. Certainly there are things we should be doing around the base to optimize. We've got some traffic, certainly. We are going to need to eventually convert this over for the plan here is in the future for this to be fully recycling only, but we do have, right, this iron supply out here and nowhere else really to send it. It's not that we have to mine it necessarily. We could just shutter this whole thing. There's nothing wrong with that decision really, as long as our steel supply is fine. We could find some way to ship it in here. That's not really the point of this facility, but it could accept iron. We don't need it, hopefully, for quite some time. So we have some, you know, some follow-ups essentially that are going to go after. Now, you know, now that we have this up and running, there are some implications that we should trickle through the rest of our base, and there's still plenty, I think, of total steel storage buffer to pile up over the course of probably a couple episodes to really fully charge things up around Silicon Ridge and St. Charles, although this one's looking pretty good so far. So there's a lot of little things that I feel like we could chase next episode if we wanted to. sort of a catch up and see how the massive changes that we've done have trickled through our base type of episode. The strategic reserve worked, but we still have quite a bit, so I don't know that this is also a long-term solution. Continue punting for a moment. We have these sort of like, got a long list of alerts that we could try to do something about. The other thing we could do, though, is look what's pretty much done. Our bridge for our aluminum, or for our bauxite mine, which will allow us to do aluminum. So next episode might be some combination of tweaks and optimizations around the base while also getting this bridge built. Maybe it's something like that, and then aluminum properly set up the episode after. Not sure. Let's see how it shakes out, but I think that would make some sense as a plan. Before we go, though, late-breaking announcement to thank our newest channel member, Illegal Danish. Great name. I'm imagining some sort of black market pastry situation. I was trying to figure out what to dedicate to Illegal Danish as a thank you for joining up. I'm out of boats right now and don't have any upcoming bridges not yet spoken for, but then it hit me. The bridge up to our gold mine never got a dedication. So, welcome to the newly christened Illegal Danish Bridge. Thank you to Illegal Danish and to all of our channel members and supporters in their various forms. You are what makes this whole thing possible, and it's very much appreciated. We're way over time though, so that's going to have to be it for today. A long one, but one worth spending the time on, I think. We've been planning this build for ages, and it's going to be awesome to finally be swimming in steel. Next time, I do think we'll start, but probably not finish aluminum production. I want to handle a few follow-ups along the way, finishing the St. Charles Steel Factory conversion to recycling only now that this is built, and probably shuttering the Illutrace iron mine, at least for now. I'd also love to chase down a couple balance issues that have popped up along the way, but I'm confident we can get all that sorted out while also getting the bridge out to our bauxite island constructed and a mining operation spun up out that way. So I think that's all achievable in the next episode. Until then, though, have a great rest of your day, and bye-bye.